Hi everyone, thanks a lot for watching this short video on how to provide a AWS organization S3 bucket access to your member accounts. So many times you will encounter a similar kind of a situation. So that's what we are going to discuss in today's short video. So this is the brief agenda I have put together. Again, we will be discussing upon the high-level architecture. Then we will be quickly jumping onto what kind of requirements you will typically see whenever you try to deploy some sort of a third-party solution to scan your member account. Then we will discuss upon what kind of problem you may encounter in such kind of a situation. Then we will look into all the different approaches to provide an access to your organization S3 bucket for your member account. And finally, we will be spending majority of our time in doing the demonstration. So let's look into the high-level architecture. Here in this architecture, so most of the time your customers can be like customer XYZ. They may have hundreds of AWS accounts within their AWS organization. And generally, most of the customers I interacted with, they may have a centralized account for the logging, or they might be doing it in the master account. Then many times the requirement comes, they want to adopt some third-party solution to scan just one specific AWS member account. So many times for the scanning, so whenever the scanning is involved, there might be a requirement to go and scan or to fetch the audit information from the organization S3 bucket for that specific AWS account. So here in this picture, you see CyberArk CIAM solution. It will be assuming a role into one of the customer's member account. As part of this entire role assumption, it will be doing quite a number of things within the member account. Apart from that, it will be going and scanning the organization S3 bucket for this specific member account only to understand what all AWS principal has been doing and what all permissions they have been using in last 90 days or so. So when it comes to the requirement, this is the few requirements what you will typically see from a third-party solution perspective. The first thing is you have to configure a role into one of your member account. And this role can be assumed by your third-party vendor solution. So here we are just mentioning a CyberArk CIAM solution. And then the role should always have like few permissions. The first permission could be just to scan. You scan the member account to look into like what are the different IAM users, IAM roles, and all these different things are being created within the account level perspective. And then, so some of the solutions, they might want to go one step further to go and scan the CloudTrail information from the organization S3 bucket. So this is from the requirement standpoint. So then the question comes, what's the problem? Where we see the problem? So let's see. So whenever you are setting up a organization S3 bucket, so what's the default settings are going to look like? So whenever you are setting up your organization S3 bucket, you will see ACL access control list is always enabled. And within this access control list, when it is enabled, you will see object writer as a default setting. So then what it means all the objects uploaded by the CloudTrail is owned by your external AWS account. It's owned by external AWS account. Again, we will be showcasing in the demonstration as well. So in such settings, if you want to allow your IAM role created in the member account to have an access, so you cannot leverage upon the bucket policies at all. You cannot leverage upon the bucket policies. Then another solution, another idea you can consider is you can start considering access control list, adding an access control list for each and every object. But if you start doing that, so if you see like all these audit information, they get created, they will keep on creating a different objects, and all these audit information gets created dynamically. So there is no easy way for you to provide an access for such kind of a use cases. Then the question comes, what to do? how you can resolve this kind of this situation. Before we jump onto the solution, let's try to understand the different access control list options, what AWS provide. The first option, what AWS provide and they recommend is they call it a bucket owner enforce. In this setting, so what it means, your access control list is going to be disabled. And whatever objects are sitting within your bucket, all these objects can be granted access using the bucket policies. So this is one of the things. Again, whoever is uploading those objects, even the third party, even the external AWS account, they are uploading the objects. These objects are still going to be owned by your bucket owner. So this is one of the recommended option. The second option for the access control list, whenever access control list is enabled, you will see two different options, bucket owner preferred and the object writer. Let's look into the object writer first. So this is the default setting. So here, whoever is uploading the objects in that bucket, they will be the owner. It means the permissions can be granted only using the access control list. And using the bucket list, you will not be able to grant any kind of the permissions at all for a specific objects. Then the second option within the access control enabled is bucket owner preferred. So what it does, if whenever objects are being uploaded using this bucket control, full control canned ACL with the additional tag, so these objects will be owned by the bucket owner. So what it means, so whatever the objects is being uploaded is being owned by the bucket owner using the bucket policy, you will be able to provide an access. But your existing object or the new objects, so with no canned ACL, so these objects still be owned by your object writer. So in the organization CloudTrail case, it will be owned by your external AWS account. So now, what's the solution? Again, there are two different approaches. So what we can think about, the first approach is like you can simply change the object ownership to bucket owner preferred. Again, once we use this, all the new objects so uploaded with the bucket owner full control ACL shall be owned by the bucket owner. Again, we will be looking at the bucket policy created by AWS automatically behind the scenes. All the objects will be uploaded using a bucket owner full control access control list. So all the new objects, we don't have to worry about it. But if there is any other objects being uploaded by XYZ manner, so those objects still going to be owned by the object writer. So that's where your access control list is going to come into picture. So then the second option, this is what AWS recommend. The second option is you simply disable the access control list because it's a primitive feature. It can be used only for a very specific scenario where you really want to grant an access to the object level. So generally, most of the organization, they may not be leveraging upon this access control list. So that's where by default, you will see once you disable this, you will see the setting bucket owner enforce. What it means, all the objects shall be owned by the bucket owner. And the entire access to the member account can be granted using the bucket policies. So I think enough talking. Let's look into the demonstration. So let's jump onto my AWS console. So here you see I have like a couple of AWS accounts. I'm using the AWS organization. So here we will be enabling the CloudTrail bucket on the master account first, and then we will try to grant an access to the A4L dev account. So here, let's go into the administrator console. So first, let's go to the CloudTrail. So here, we'll go to the trails. So let's try to create a new organization. So we are going to enable for all the AWS account. So here also we can mention as a Raj testing because I got like a lot of buckets in my in my account. So for this particular demonstration, we are going to disable the SSE KMS encryption. So rest of the settings, I will keep it as a default. So we are going to focus upon just on the management event for now. So once I click next, once we create a trail. So here, this is the trail has been created. So it has been assigned a specific S3 bucket. So let's go to this S3 bucket. So in this S3 bucket, let's go to the permissions. In the permissions, in the bucket policy, if you see, my principal is cloudtrail.amazonaws.com. And by default, AWS has granted quite a number of permissions. So the bucket ACL, the S3 put bucket, and put object to a different level. So here, one thing to take note. So we are already adding this particular access control list tag is a bucket owner full control. So this is the default settings again. So if we look at the object ownership, so here you see by default ACL is enabled and it is set to object writer. So we will do a cancel. And here we are going to go again. So we are going to go to the permissions. So here, let's look into the permissions. So here you see this is my AWS account ID, ADA755. This is my canonical ID. So we will go to the objects and then we will try to see what exactly you will see. Yeah, so here I'm just going to one of the random account. If I go to the CloudTrail, okay, again, I think we have to wait for a couple of seconds, or let's try going to some other account. Yeah. Okay, so I think as of now, it will take like couple of minutes. So let's try one last time again. So what I'll do, I'll pause this video and then once the object starts appearing, then I will resume this video. After almost 5 minutes, we start seeing all the different objects has started appearing. So let's go to one of the accounts. So here we see all the objects has started appearing. And let's go and look into one of the objects. So this is a long name. If I click on this object, if we go to the permissions, so you are able to see in the access control list, so there is a thing called grantee. In the grantee, you are able to see object owner is the external account. Okay, so this account is AWS account. Is not like account owned by me. So this is the object owner, and then so by default, whenever objects are being uploaded into this bucket, so I have been granted a permission as well. So at any point of a time, I can download, I can take a appropriate action onto these objects. So let's go to the bucket. In the bucket, let's try playing with the bucket policy permissions. So here, so we are trying to grant an access to one of the member account, so which is my dev account. So here, what we will do, we'll click on a edit button, and then we are going to add a policy. So for the policy, let me try to copy and paste the policy. So here, this is the policy. So I have a sample policy. So we are going to add. So this corresponds to this. We are going to add a policy. This one is like we have to change the bucket name. So let's copy the bucket name. So once we do that, now it looks okay to me. Okay, the policy has been saved. So what we did from this policy standpoint, so this is my A4L dev account. We are going to go to this particular account and we are going to try to access this specific bucket, and then we are going to download, or we are going to look at into one of the objects. So you will be able to see the access is going to be denied. So though here, so all kind of access has been granted to me. So now what we will do, so we go to this A4L dev account. Let's go to the management console. So here we are going to go to the CloudTrail. From the CloudTrail, we will go to the specific bucket. So this is the organization trail, what we just created. We go to this Raj organization trail. Then let's click on this trail log location. So you will be able to see I can still access this bucket. But when we will try to access any of the objects, so that's where you will be able to see the access is going to be denied. So here we are trying to download. Let's try to download. So here you are able to see the access is going to be denied. So now the question comes, in such kind of a scenario, how you can provide an access to your member accounts. So what we will do, so we will go to our master account again, and then we will try to make some changes here. So here we will go to the S3 bucket. So let's go to our CloudTrail. Not this one. This was. So here, once you go to the permissions, so there are specific settings what you can do. So you can click on a edit button. So here, so currently ACL is enabled and it is set to object writer. So once you make the changes to the bucket owner preferred, so as long as any of the events, any of the objects being uploaded, if it is carrying a specific tag called bucket access control owner or something, so that's where your bucket policy can come into picture. So once we do a save changes, so here what we can do, we can remove this or we can delete this so that it's going to be easier for us to understand all the different objects. So let's try to delete it, and it will take like a couple of seconds. Then we will start seeing new objects here popping up. So again, I'll pause this video for like 1 to 2 minutes, and then we will resume this video. So we just started seeing the events. So if I go to the AWS logs, go to this. So here, going to the specific object. So here, if we look at the object, so if we look at the permissions, so here you are able to see these objects are owned by my own AWS account. So here it is also saying it's your own AWS account. It is not owned by external AWS account. So here, once we do this thing, let's go back to our dev account and let's try accessing all these objects here, or one of the objects. So let's go to the management console. So we go to the CloudTrail again. Yeah. So here Once we go here, we're going to, so this object, and again, it is owned by Ratnishka. Let's try to download. Okay, I'm able to download this object again. It's a JSON file. So what we can do, we can try opening it. So you are able to see it's a bunch of like JSON. Yeah. So this is one of the ways you can provide an access to your member account if any of the third party they want to scan. But one thing to take note. So let's try uploading the any kind of object without any kind of a tag or something. So once we do that, so let's try to do it. There's some of the document. So here, once we do a upload, and then we will try to go and see the permission who's owning this particular object. You will see here, because I didn't add any kind of a tag or something, this object is going to be owned by this A4L dev account. If I click on this one, so this object is owned by somebody else. If we click on the permission, you're able to see this object is owned by some other account. Okay, not the bucket owner. So if I go back again on this thing, if I look at the permissions, so here if you see the canonical ID of this one and the object ID is very different here. So this is one of the things to take note. So now we will go back to our master account again, and then let's try to make some other changes. So once we go to our master account, let's go to the S3 bucket. In the S3 bucket, so another thing what we can do, so here, another thing what we can do, if we go to the edit, so we can try disabling this ACL. Again, these ACL should be disabled in a careful manner. So again, because whenever you are trying to disable this ACL, so whatever the object level access control has been provided, so your application may not be able to access a specific objects or so on. Again, AWS, they provide some sort of the recommendation as well. So we will be disabling this ACL. And once we are able to disable it, so one of the key thing I forgot to show you, if we go to the, so here, whenever you do it, so by default, it's going to be bucket owner enforced here. So now let's go to our objects. So let's look into this particular object. If you remember, this object was owned by somebody else. So once I click on this, so now you see the owner of this particular object has been changed. So I've been granted the full permissions to control this particular object. So here I can download, I can do whatever I want. So here, so then even this case also, let's go to the A4L dev account and let's try to access all these different objects here. So now we are going to the A4L dev account and we will try to access the objects here. So we'll go to the S3 bucket, go to the CloudTrail, and from the CloudTrail, we will go to the specific S3 bucket. So once we go here, so here, once we click here, so here, yeah, you can go to any of the accounts and you will be able to see all the objects owned by the bucket owner. Despite the fact whether the tag has been enabled or whether anybody else is uploading any kind of objects. If I go to the permission, you will be always able to see, hey, this particular account is owning all these different objects here. So here you are able to see ADA, something, Even on the property, you are able to see, hey, I myself is the owner. If I go to the Rajneesh, so here also, you are able to see this bucket owner is like ADA. So this is my own canonical ID. And then you can access any of the objects again. So here we're trying to access one of the objects. Just to prove the point. So we'll try to open. So you're able to see, we are able to open. So I think that's it from my side. Thanks a lot, everyone, for watching this short video on how you can provide your organization S3 bucket access to the member account for solutions like CIM to be able to scan your organization S3 bucket and to extract all the desired information. Thanks a lot for watching once again. If you have any question, feel free to post it on the chat window. I shall be more than happy to answer any of your questions here. Thanks a lot, everyone.